Hello, everybody, and welcome to the channel. So, it's pretty darn important that you vote. And I don't mean the election in November. I mean for the stock that I'm going to buy $1,000 of in the YouTube portfolio. The first stock up for election is the StarBucks Corporation, aka SBUX. This coffee giant has gotten beaten up a bit this year, but just had a recent price recovery. Their valuation is partly based on a future growth in China, where they're expected to still open a lot more new stores in the coming years and really grow their customer base. China has one of the fastest growing per capita GDPs in the world, so if there's any emerging economy that's likely to be able to afford $7 for a coffee, China is probably the one. I personally don't know if that will pan out, but hey, that's what buyers of Starbucks stock I think are banking on. And they seem to think that this valuation is pretty low for what they consider to be a moat business. Next, we have Medical Properties Trust. It should be no surprise to anybody who watches my channel that MPW would be on this list. It is the stock I probably cover the most. It's my largest position, and it has been beaten up a lot over the last, say, year and a half or so by short sellers and by a lot of negative market sentiment. Rising interest rates have certainly not helped. Their largest tenant steward is in Chapter 11 bankruptcy. But what it comes down to is that the underlying assets, in my view, are still worth a lot more than the current share price. So we shall see if that pans out. I sure hope it will, but you never know. And in spite of the fact that I already hold so much of it, my viewers want me to buy 1,000 more, and I don't blame them. Next up is probably the biggest surprise in this whole list. It's the Nvidia Corporation. Nvidia is the big AI play. They make the chips. Well, they don't make them themselves. They design them. And TSM actually makes most of them. So my view here is that if AI turns out to be a big bubble, then Nvidia will probably have a big price collapse as a result. However, if AI turns out to be the real deal, maybe a forward PE of 43.5 is not too expensive, and perhaps it'll pan out pretty well for people who buy even at today's price after the gigantic run up that they've had over the last year or two. I personally hadn't jumped on board yet. I just didn't see it or didn't understand it. And hey, it's been my loss on that regard. Here's a name that doesn't get mentioned on the channel much, as I am mostly a Coke drinker, but this is PepsiCo. They are thought of as the big competitor to Coca-Cola in the Cola Wars. Second place, the silver medal, whatever you want to say. However, their cola business isn't the thing that's most attractive about Pepsi. While they do have a substantial beverage segment and own a lot of popular, iconic drink brands, what is really interesting about them is how dominant they are in the snack space. You go down the chip aisle, you have your Fritos and your Doritos and your Lay's. Basically, all the Eatos and the most popular brands of potato chips, that's all owned by PepsiCo. So Frito-Lay is theirs, and basically it's like 75-80% of what you see in the snack aisle, probably bags of products owned by Pepsi. So that's pretty huge. Now their PE is a little bit high. It's in the low to mid 20s for trailing, forward of 19.7. But if you think that they're going to continue to grow at even a fairly reasonable pace, and they're a consumer staple, so they're relatively safe, they're not going to necessarily go anywhere, might be a good add here. Last but not least, this stock was recommended actually by Capital Mindset and got a little bit of other support from somebody else in the comments here. It's British American Tobacco. BTI is the global international tobacco play, or nicotine play now, in my mind, with all of the different smokeless options that they have. I just think that, considering the fact that they both sell in the US and internationally, and they trade at a mid-single digit multiple of their free cash flow, and have a starting yield of nearly 9%. And if they do buybacks, it would just absolutely drive EPS and free cash flow per share through the roof. And I think that they intend to do so. This is almost the biggest no-brainer on this list as far as stocks to potentially buy. Regardless of which stock you guys pick for the portfolio, I think that it would be nice if we got nice big fat envelopes full of cash in the form of dividends, the way Tony Soprano does. If you guys ever watch The Sopranos, those nice fat envelopes full of cash always feel great. But regardless, please comment below and let me know if you voted. Make sure you follow me on Discord, link in the description, like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel for more. We'll do this again at 3K. And make sure you consider becoming a member. Follow Cashflow Kings Live, Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Take it easy, everyone.